Given, and it's also
Today, it's never been
putting the squeeze. They make money on
excessive materialism and militarism. We know full well that racism is still that hound of hell.
Okay. So it's recording, but I can cut all of this out.
Okay.
It can be whatever you want it to be. There's no pressure.
Okay, cool.
It's just a conversation.
Yes. Hello.
Hi. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. We were connected through a mutual friend. Can you tell me a little bit about like the work you've done and things you've done with him, if you want to mention him?
With Nico Aid. He was on the podcast earlier, and he's the best. We're both UCB people, so I think the first time we worked together was actually probably not UCB related, but we were both on mod, and then maybe he does several projects on his own with a wonderful writing partner named Marina Templeton. And so I think I've done a couple of their projects together that they've done. Yeah. Wait, did I say Marina's last name right? Let me double check.
But yeah, welcome to Now in Color, the podcast that brings those who have been erased in history back to the forefront, giving them the voice and place that they deserve. I'm your host, as always, Sandie Chang, and today I'm joined by Monique Moses.
Ooh, it's me.
Yeah, and she will be talking a little bit about herself.
It's Templesman. Of course I messed it up. Because she's the best. Just go to marinaandnico.com. They're doing wonderful work. She's so nice that she won't be mad at me for that either. She'll just be like, oh, Monique, that silly lady.
Yeah, I love their sketches. They're so funny.
And you can also cut all of this out if you would like to. Great. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
About myself,
we literally just met just now.
So I direct a lot of sketch around the city. I host a show at Caveat monthly. It's called Unteachables. It's a very fun show. What we do is we take, New York's funniest comedians. This is the blurb. And then we pit them up against teachers who give us an honest lecture about their subject. And, it's got a mix of like Mystery Science Theater 3000 meets like a real classroom because some of the questions are very genuine, and we really are trying to learn. And then some of them, we're cracking jokes. But either way, it's a good time and everyone should go. And then I'm on I have a show weekly at UCB called Astronomy Club. We're a sketch and improv team. And we also have a show, digital show with Comedy Central, where you can watch our sketches online. And I also have a show on ifc.com, a digital web series called Expat, which is a lot of fun. And it's about my musings as a, ex-Canadian expat living in America.
What are some of your musings?
I mean, to be honest, it's like more just like personal things, like the sense of like, am I too old to be doing this? I love like concert culture. Like, should I be going to like places like Coachella and stuff like that? I mean, we have festivals like that in Canada, but I feel like America has like insane festivals.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
That sounds like something I went through literally last month, where I was convinced for a day. Like one day I was like, I'm going to go to Burning Man next year.
Oh, yeah.
And
Just
then
go.
I read this thing where it was like 87% white. And I was like, I don't think so. I hate camping anyway. But all of my friends, who are usually Asian women, are always just like, you should go to Burning Man. Like, it'll change you. And I'm like, I don't think so. But I don't know.
Yeah, I grew up in Canada. I'm Canadian. I grew up in a city 2 hours west of Toronto, but outside of the city. Mm-hmm. And like for the first 10 years of my life, we were the only Black family in a county. So I'm just like used to being around like a bunch of white people. It's not a preference. Mm-hmm. It truly isn't at this point, but it's like if I end up in a Burning Man, the real problem will be mainly the dust in my underwear or like the being like outside camping in the middle of the desert. Like that's not a thing I want to do.
Yeah.
But hanging out with a bunch of white people ain't so bad. I do improv, so you know what I mean?
That was literally one of the reasons why I was like, I think
That's
I'm
so
done
funny.
with it. Like I tried. I was like very earnest about it. I was like, I'm going to start an indie team and I'm going to really try it. And then I was just like, I think I hate this. I'm like one Asian accent joke away from like just like imploding.
Yeah. The transgressions are they're mighty.
Yeah.
They're numerous and mighty.
Yeah, but it's amazing that you got through all of this and found so much success in it too.
And yeah, just like the way that you probably, when you were looking for your indie team, you wanted to find like-minded individuals. Like early on, I was able to find, before Astronomy Club, which if you don't know is an all-black improv group. 3 women, 5 men. Before that, I was on another all-black team, or it was like, we were called Nobody's Token. So actually we had different types of people of color on it, some Latinas and stuff like that. So yeah, it was just like always a thing to try and, make my voice feel a little bit more amplified in.
Yeah. It's really important finding community. It was hard because it was before Asian AF came to New York City. And a part of me was like, maybe I should go back to LA. And I grew up in a super white town too, in California, in Riverside, California. So I was just like, oh, maybe, I don't know, that affected me too. Yeah, it's the whole thing. Wow. Transgenerational trauma is all real. Yeah.
It's tough. But, at the same time, I feel like a lot has changed. I feel like you were telling me that the last time you were at UCB was like a few years ago?
Yes. I feel like it's been like a couple years now because I was also in a drama conservatory during that time and I cried a lot. It was just like 2 years of like intense crying.
That's
and like
so funny.
Throwing up. Because I'm really bad with anger, and that's like the one emotion they kept pushing me to.
Of course they do. They have to break you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I would like literally throw up in class because I'd rather throw up than be angry.
You know what's funny? I also went to an acting conservatory when I moved here. Like I did an undergrad in Toronto in theater, but then here, in order to move to this country, you need a good reason, and it's even worse now. So I was like, okay, I'm going to school, guys. I'm not an illegal person. Be nice to me. And so I went to school, and it was an on-camera conservatory, and it wasn't bad. There was lots of comedy sections and like the ability to do like, there was a web series class. So we shot like our own projects. So it was cool. But like whenever we did have to do classical or like dramatic acting, like it was tough on me because I access memories that don't really exist. And so I was like, I didn't like putting that out into the universe. Like if I needed to think of something sad, I've luckily had a fairly happy life. So it's like I have to imagine someone that I love in a desperate and terrible situation. And I'm like, I don't need to do this anymore because it's not, get that energy.
Yeah, it's fucked up because this one time, we have to live through these imaginary circumstances. And, I had to like practice my devastation. So I imagined that my father had died.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, he was rushed to the emergency room. And like it made me go crazy because I was just like, I wished for that to happen.
I did
somehow.
this for a dumb exercise.
Yeah, for a dumb thing for a class. And I was just like, ugh, I can't do that anymore.
Yeah. That's why.
Well, he's alive, so that's good.
Good. Yay. Excellent.
Yeah, but that really freaked me out because I also believe in that you might like will things to happen.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a weird thing. Acting is.
Acting's weird.
But comedy's fun because it's like a communal. It's like you do it to make people laugh and you want them to feel something. I'm not saying that acting isn't about you wanting to make people feel something, but like especially on camera stuff, you're trying to live in a world truthfully. So you're not really even thinking about outside of that world. Whereas for me, comedy is like we're all in this together, and this is something I think is really funny, and hopefully you do too. So yeah,
I think one thing I I struggled with, and maybe you can speak on this too, in acting and drama world, is I feel like it is a very white space. And I think it's harder for me to like even exist in that space, let alone express all these emotions that are like deeply rooted in something else. What have you ever felt that way in any way? That it felt like putting trauma on display, basically.
Oh, right. I mean, for me, it's been such a strange journey because even when I was young, the feeling of being othered was like a weird, like they put me on a pedestal, like teach me how to do the Running Man, or la 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 la, you're cool, that sort of thing. Can you rap? Can you sing? Can you dance? And like that is like stereotypes and generalizations are hurtful. Yeah. But then sometimes it's like, I love to sing. I love dancing. And so it's like, it was a weird sense of, you know, being an entertainer, like by choice, and then also forced to be one. I don't know. It's weird. But, and then also a lot of my opportunities I have gotten because I've been like the only Black voice there. And, you know, and so it's like, it's hard for me to look down on being that representation because it's like helped me go so far. But yeah, I can definitely understand it and relate to it. And I don't, you know, it's so annoying to have to be the person, be the one that explains things to people all the time, you know?
Yeah.
But then maybe I'm such an attention whore that sometimes I'm all about that shit, you know? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the burden of representation is real, but if you're happy to bear that, that's okay.
You know, it's weird.
It's weird.
Just give me an EGOT. That's all I want. You know?
Yeah. So who are you bringing into the room today? So, and it's funny that we started this conversation about, with, you know, a look into our dramatic pasts, because the way that I discovered this man is not through school, not through teachers, but through a playwright in the 70s called Ntozake Shange. And she wrote this play called For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Not Enough. Wow. And it's this amazing, like, stream of consciousness ballad-esque type piece of theater that like follows the journey of like what it means to be a Black woman. And I don't know if you're an Erykah Badu fan, but even she like sort of like sampled it. She did like an homage to it with the song Bag Lady. Where, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, it's an older song. It's from like the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. But in the video, it's a bunch of women, Black women in different rainbow-esque type colors, red, yellow, green, and they all have their baggage. And so in the play, you know, the women in the play are dressed up in their different colors too. So it was like, if you recognize that, you're like, ooh, I know where you're referencing that.
Yeah, I'll definitely post that on Twitter and Instagram.
You definitely should. It's a dope play. And I think like I did my thesis on something related to it. Like I tried to make my own version, or it was dumb. I hate school. But anyways.
I'm right there with you.
But she has a piece in it that talks about Toussaint Louverture, who I'm bringing into the room today. The Haitian general that helped incite the riots and the revolution that made Haiti into a free state.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear about this.
I mean, you're going to hear what Wikipedia is going to write for me. So, I mean, I guess I can say the reason why I wanted to do him was because, I mean, I guess with Puerto Rico lately, I've been thinking a lot about Caribbean islands, and I've been thinking a lot about capitalism, and I've been thinking a lot about like colonialism and like how, like, will Caribbean islands ever get out of the debt that they are in, and like how did it happen, and why were they left to be forsaken in such a way? And yeah, I watched this really sad Vox video the other day about Haiti and the Dominican Republic and how they have their own sort of issues between those two countries. So, yeah. So, yeah, I thought about him, and I thought about how that poem in Tazaki's play has always like resonated and stayed with me. So, yeah, that's why I decided to bring him in.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's I'll also want to talk more about capitalism because I'm on a super anti-capitalism binge right now in my mind.
Oh, are you? That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I love it.
We've all been lied to.
I mean, we have. We have in so many different ways, just to keep status quo running.
Yeah. And this podcast alone has, I mean, even before I was angry, but I feel like this podcast just made me angrier and angrier. But it's also therapeutic in a way because I like that it gives people space to talk about stories that were otherwise just buried by white supremacy and colonialism.
Right.
I think now more than ever, we just need to really amplify our voices, even though it sucks and I want to cry all the time. But
also keep in mind, I'm so not political. I don't know what sort of switch I turned off in me early on. I think it was also the science and chemistry switch. I turned that off like real early, like 9th grade. So like, I truly don't know anything. Just a little disclaimer there for everyone listening. Yeah. So what do you want to hear about this?
well, who is he? And
Who is he?
what did he do? I literally have never heard of him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's so fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. So he was born in 1743 and he died in 1803, and he was the leader of the Haitian independence movement during the French Revolution. Haiti, and this is something that I learned from that Vox video I watched, so Haiti is a French, obviously, French colonial colony. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Okay, so Haiti is a French colony, whereas the Dominican Republic was from Spain, right? And so the Spanish and the French really dealt with the two countries very differently. The French pretty much just like used the country for the resources and just like raped it, right? Just took everything, and then would force, the slaves that they had taken from Africa to just do the harshest of labor and just like work the land till it was dry, and just like it was devastating, right? And I think the Haitian people were very, very tired of that. And so that's what started to the independence. Yeah. So, I mean, the Haitian Revolution was like the long struggle on the part of slaves in the French colony. So Haiti was named Domingue? Yeah. Saint Domingue, or like Saint Dominique, I guess, if you're saying it in a French context, who, like I just said, were worked to the bone. But then there was also a bunch of free mulattoes, so mixed race blacks, who were denoted as like semi-citizens and like never, I don't know, there was just like no opportunity to get their freedom. So Toussaint Louverture, he was a leader of the Haitian Revolution, okay? He, first fought for the Spanish against the French, and then he fought for France against Spain and Great Britain, and finally for Saint Domingue, which was like what Haiti was called back in the day, against Napoleonic France. So essentially, he was just like at the heads of like a bunch of different wars, saw the way people were treating, blacks and slaves in various contexts, and was like, no, we're not going to stand for this shit anymore. And also, In case you didn't know, the French treated their colony very different from the Spanish. The French used all the resources in Haiti to its last drop, and they worked the slaves like to the bone. Whereas I feel like the Spanish, and I was watching a Vox video about this recently, the Spanish were just a little bit more about integrating into the society and have it being more like a place for people to it's like a destination place, whereas Haiti was like just strictly like mining the resources.
Wow.
So and it became the most prosperous slave colony of the time for everywhere. Wow. You know what I mean? Because the French were just like churning it out. Yeah. So the most prosperous slave colony turned into the first free colonial society after this revolution. And Toussaint Louverture was at the apex of that. He was the reason for it. So he was born in 1743. And then he died in 1803. So he was 59 years old. Again, why Toussaint Louverture and the Haitian slave revolution was like a big deal is because it was the only slave revolt that led into a founding of a state, and is considered worldwide the most successful slave rebellion ever to have occurred in the Americas.
Wow.
Yeah. And it also is interesting knowing that and seeing where Haiti is now, just like what happens when a slave state is established. Mm-hmm. Nothing happens. Like no help, no resources, nothing. So it's very sad.
Yeah, it is very sad. I don't even know where to begin with that.
Right? Yeah. And the reason why, this happened is because they were inspired by what was happening in France at the time. The French Revolution was happening around the same time, late 1700s. And so they also were like emboldened to seek their equality and their freedom,
And chop off some heads. Yeah.
Exactly. And they didn't.
Rightfully so.
The slaves didn't want to be involved in it, but, it was also some of the free blacks, some of the like mulattoes or mixed race people who were living on the island who were fighting for their own sense of equality. Yeah. Who kind of like started the sentiment in Saint Dominique.
It's interesting how like revolutions are painted in our history books, because like the French Revolution, for example, we're just like, oh my gosh, they were all crazy and chopping off people's heads. Yeah. And recently I learned that like the communist revolution in China inspired like the Black Panther Party to form in America and all of this. But yet we're always talking about like, oh my God, the communists were evil. And I mean, Mao Zedong was pretty evil. He did some fucked up shit. Yeah. And I get it. My parents are from Taiwan. Yeah. So it's like this whole thing where I'm just like, damn, how many lies have we been told about history?
Well, it's like the whole, American sense of foreign policy in the like past World War II, where it was like, we're trying to combat, like the Cold War is about to happen, and we're trying to combat the Soviets and their expansion into the world. Mm-hmm. And like, we see, communism, as a threat to America. So it's like, what do? We like sneakily like put leaders into positions that are on our side and nobody knows. We give them weapons without like letting the world know. So it's like this weird sense of like under the table support, and then these people end up doing bad things to their people, and then they're painted as monsters, and they rightfully are, but who put those monsters in positions of power?
This is blowing my mind.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't know. It just makes me think that innately we're all terrible. It doesn't matter what we do. We're all just like, the goal is to survive and see the brightness in everything, because just on general default is like, we're the worst.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That is true.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everyone. positive.
This podcast always gets depressing.
Does it always get depressing?
It's like it never is like, oh yeah, and then we're all gonna be great. And then it's always just like, and then we're dead.
And then we die. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, back to the Haitian Revolution. An interesting fact about him. In sometime in like 1792, 93, this is after or during like a very long military career where he's like known as someone who's like pretty fair and like by the book. He adopted the surname Louverture, which is a French word for opening or the one who opened the way. So it just like refers to his ability to create openings in battle and also to just be like making strides forward. So that's cool. He like gave himself his own nickname.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Toussaint. I mean, another good thing about Toussaint Louverture is he's in Hamilton, right? I think? Or they reference him in Hamilton?
I thought it was Lafayette. In Hamilton.
That is.
Yeah.
I should know the play. I don't know it. But I feel like Lafayette is real, like, is a Haitian slave, yeah?
No, he was, well, in history, he was like a French mercenary who came to help the American Revolution.
Oh, shit.
But in the musical, it's played by Daveed Diggs.
Who is a black man, and so I assume that he was Haitian.
Yeah, so they like basically rewrote history in that like, oh, it's like black men and brown men like actually created America, which like is true to an extent.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's built on black and brown labor, slave labor.
Yeah, I should really pay attention to what Hamilton's about.
I had this obsessive period with Hamilton, like where I would listen to the soundtrack on repeat. And then when I finally saw it, I was just like, I think I put this like weight. It was still really good and worth the wait. But I was just like, oh man, I like put this on a pedestal for like 4 years straight or whatever.
Did you go see it?
Yeah, I did. There was like this like flash sale through the Actors Fund, and I like paid so. It was so funny because I like quickly bought 2 tickets, and then I was like just going to therapy, and my therapist was like, "You got tickets to Hamilton? How did you do that?" And she like stopped the session to buy her ticket to Hamilton, and then we had to talk about like how if we see each other that night, should we acknowledge each other? It was so weird.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
I need to go to therapy. That sounds fun. I need to go to
therapy.
Yeah.
I need to go back.
Yeah,
I've been avoiding it for a month straight. And I'm like, I'm busy. And she's like, are you though?
Oh.
Yeah. Therapy's fun. It's a lot of crying also.
Damn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When I was younger, my mom put me in therapy because she caught me having phone sex with a boyfriend.
Oh. How old were you? But that's okay.
I was 13.
Is that okay?
And he was 15.
Was the boy? That's okay, right? I
did. I made a lot of like moaning sounds, like how I thought it was supposed to be, because I was 13. What can you do?
I mean, we're all discovering sex in our own way.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what happened, Mom. It's fine. Although I would like to go back, talk some things through. One thing that's important, though, to me is finding someone with, like, my point of view. Like, a lot of therapists are older and very white. And
I specifically look for a woman of color.
Yeah.
Who had great Yelp reviews.
Oh, exactly.
And, like, specifically focused on, like, cultural psychology, because I found that a lot of the things I was angry about was racism at the end of the day. Like, it all leads back to it. And, you know, instead of her gaslighting me and being like, not all white people are bad, she'll be like, I get it, you know? So
it's at the root of humanity. It's like feeling lesser than is like, can fuck with you.
Yes.
You know? And it's like, out of no reason to feel lesser than, but like it's just been preordained. Like, for instance, I'm going to tell this private story because I want to.
Do you want me to cut it out?
No.
Okay.
It'll be fine. I won't disclose any names, but a very close person to me, like in a long time relationship, they're this is so dumb. Yeah, you might have to cut it out, but maybe not. I don't know. So my husband's black. My husband's white. His mom is also white, but they are Macedonian, and they're like they've always been considered and treated as like gypsies wherever in their home country, and then even here when they first got here. Yeah. And so his grandmother was just like, so his great grandmother for a long time, I never met because they were too afraid that she would feel a way about me. It was never even like tried. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it was just like, whatever. And then she passed. And then the grandmother was like, apologized to me for that, because she was like, that's not right. You know, you should have been able to meet the great grandmother of your husband. And long story short, the mom also apologized. Like, whenever we get to talking about like real issues, you know, it'll come up because it's still something that like hurt, because he has brothers and his brothers had girlfriends, and they would always meet and go to these family dinners just because they were white. And it was like, I've been with him for 13 years and was now married to him, and I never got to, and those women came and gone. And so it's just like that like little thing still affects me. And so we talked about it, and the mom was just like, I understand how much it hurt. And it's like, I don't know why, but like when we moved to this country, or like when like people from Macedonia or people from the old world move to the country, they adopt that like same sentiment of like, put you on the bottom because that's what everybody else is doing. And yeah, it's like, I don't know if they believe it, but they just do it because it's like, that's what it is here in North America. And like hearing that from her was supposed to make me feel better. But then I was also like, but why are we at the bottom? You know what I mean? Like, who ordained that? Yeah. Yeah. So it was like, that did not make me feel better. It just made me like, be like, what the fuck? I don't know, you know? I don't know. You can cut all that out or keep it in.
I mean, I would love to keep that if you are okay with it. Thank you for sharing that, because
you're easy to share with.
I get it. I mean, I get it, because that's the same. It's something that I think why I feel so excluded from the Asian American community, because like we were talking about earlier, there is a lot of anti-Black and brownness in our community, and it's not being addressed. And in the same way that your boyfriend's family felt that they're at the bottom, so they needed to treat you badly too, is I think the same philosophy that a lot of Asian Americans have adopted too, to be like, well, we're being left alone, so let's not, you know, cause any scenes, or like, let's also treat Black people just as badly so we can get a pass to be white, basically. And, you know, believe in the model minority myth, even though that was created so that white supremacy could still exist.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm also in an interracial relationship with a white dude, and I've been with him for 7 years. And even then, there's like moments where, you know, I get attacked and for that, because it's just like, oh, you're a race traitor. And like, this just like bullshit things I've been told, that like I'm white worshiping and I'm brainwashed to believe. And like, the worst is like, oh, like you're dumb over some pink dick. That's like this huge thing where people will like just say that outright and be like, you're betraying us as a people. So it's just like all these things. Like, even my parents, on the reverse side, my parents didn't talk to him for like 6 years. My dad still doesn't talk to him. My mom is like, in this 1 year, has warmed up to him for some reason. Gosh. And it's just like, when are you guys having kids? I think it's because she's just like, it's over. It's like, it's not happening. She's not going to find a Taiwanese millionaire at this point. And it really sucks because like a huge part of me just wants to say like this, we keep blaming each other for these things. And at the end of the day, it's keeping us down. And it is because of colonialism and like imperialism and white supremacy, and they want us to keep fighting amongst each other so that we're blinded from that. And it's just fucked up. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. And this is why I'm in therapy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. Feel very similarly to you.
Yeah.
Moments. Am I right?
Yeah. But let me know if you want to cut all that out.
I don't know. It's so good.
I can like bleep it so it sounds.
No, that's insane. I don't know.
Yeah. Or I'll send you this before I post it because I have a backlog of just editing that takes like 6 hours of my time.
I mean, maybe it's important in this age where there's so much content out there. Maybe it's like you need you need to be real so that somebody out there who's feeling the same way you are.
Yeah.
I mean, the only person that it will embarrass are the people who thought because of my race that like they had to like weave what's the word I'm thinking? Just like that it was a big enough deal that it had to be a different protocol than usual.
Yeah.
But even then, I don't want, because I love them, so I don't want them to be embarrassed. So it's like, I don't know. Great. So shall I keep going? Okay. But so he didn't live to see it, but him, because he was imprisoned, he was overthrown and imprisoned, but he set like this Haitian Revolution, set in motion a series of global events that like changed the geography of the Western Hemisphere and like the ending of European colonial domination in the Americas. So because of this revolution, places like Jamaica and, even like sentiments in the United States of like, the Civil War, like were born from like the success of this revolution.
That's amazing.
It is, isn't it? And I feel like that's why he's such like a good person in history to understand and to know, but isn't really taught in schools.
I wonder why.
Yeah. He was a former slave himself too. That's an interesting thing to add.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my guests have been frequently talking about how in order for something to change in America now, there needs to be some form of revolution. And that is a scary thing for me to think about because I would immediately die in that scenario.
Yeah, revolutions are always bloody. They're never not. There's lots of casualties. But I wonder if, like, since war nowadays has changed to sort of like this... it feels like it's like a computerized warfare.
You're not the first person who said that.
Yeah. So it's like, what do the casualties look like there?
Yeah.
Is it an economic only casualty? I mean, that's a lie because we see what's happening in parts of the world that are still in heavy like battle zones and stuff like that. And there's lots of people who are truly dying, but like, I wonder what casualties look like now.
Yeah. I mean, just a few weeks ago, all of our Facebook data was hacked, like 50 million accounts.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't even know what to do about that. Like, where do I even begin to protect my data? And is it even valuable?
Exactly.
I don't even know.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. What perspectives do you think would have changed for you if you had learned about this in school? Or what do you hope that other people can take away from this now that they know about it?
I mean, in school, I will say this, so growing up in Canada, our second language is French. Mm-hmm. And, my parents are Jamaican and Grenadian. My mom's Jamaican, my dad's from Grenada. And to have a historical figure that was responsible for like the cascading like sentiment of like freedom and equality that went across the Americas, to know that they are French speaking, that they are from the Caribbean, of course, is something that would have probably given me a lot of pride. Mm-hmm. It would have been nice to see. Yeah. Yeah. And so also what I would want people to take away from this podcast is a phone call. No, it's okay. I've been getting a lot of spam lately.
Yes,
TBH.
me too.
It's nuts. But I think what I want people to take away from this podcast is that, sentiments in like America is, everyone considers it the guiding force of culture a lot in the world, I guess, but like they are often very influenced by things that happen outside. Yeah. Politically as well. So, keeping that in mind, that the history of that came from, Caribbean cultures is also very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And I think we've all been, or at least I have been brainwashed to believe that it's like a white standard and like a American standard. And yeah, I wish I would have known all of this in school too. So I think it would have shaped me very differently. Maybe I wouldn't have to go to therapy, you guys. Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to add about him?
I mean, no, I'm trying my darndest here. I'm just glad we got a chance to chat.
Is there anything you want to talk about that you're working on, that you want to plug, or, anything that you want the listeners to even take away from like this chaotic time we're living in?
I think we just have to find times to laugh and like find the brightness. And you said this wonderful thing about, so we have to stop blaming each other. Mm-hmm. And start like seeing ourselves as like one people. I know that's very hippy dippy, but I mean, it's truly the only way. Like tribalism, we'll only take care of each other if we all think we're from the same tribe. Mm-hmm. And if we don't, then we'll just keep fighting. Yeah. That's just the nature of humanity. So I don't know, whatever you need to do to make people part of your tribe, do it, because we're at a crossroads where it's like, it doesn't make sense anymore. We're all too educated. We all understand so much about like why we are where we are. So you can't be like ignorant to be like, oh, I don't have any Black friends, or I don't know about, Chinese culture. And so, it's different to me. And so it's wrong. It's like, no, bitch, go on Google. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Google it.
Google it and learn about history and learn about things. And you're not in the dark anymore. You don't need someone to explain their ways to you. Yeah. They're just a human being with a different culture than you. And also, that culture is widely shareable. Yes. And you can learn about it. So that's all.
Anything you're working on that you want people to know about? I think a lot of exciting things are coming up for you.
No, just we're just have that show. Astronomy Club has that show on Comedy Central. You can go on Facebook and watch it. Don't read the comments. You can go on YouTube and watch it. You can check out my show on ifc.com. It's also on YouTube. It's called Expat. And if you're ever in New York, come check out an Astronomy Club improv show Monday night at UCB East. Or what else? Or my Unteachable show at Caveat. It's the first Wednesday of every month.
Yeah, and you can find all of this information on the Instagram, Now in Color Podcast, because I'll plug all of this, and on Facebook, and also Twitter at now_in_color. That sucks, but whatever. It happened.
Yeah, follow me too.
Yeah.
Nutella Cartel, all social medias. It's the same name.
Yes. And subscribe, leave a review, tell me what you think. Tell us if we got any information wrong. It's a lifelong learning podcast.
Yeah. If you have any like great recos for therapists, let us know. Women of color.
Yeah. I mean, I have an amazing therapist. I can recommend it to you.
Okay,
and
then...
you guys can email me. I'll recommend her to you. She's probably mad at me right now for not coming in for a month.
Amazing.
Sorry. If you're listening to this. She's probably not. But thank you so much for coming.
Yes, thank you for having me in my struggles trying to teach you about Toussaint Louverture. Everyone, speak on a French accent if you can't. It's fun.
Yay. All right. Thanks.
Okay, bye.